Shabbat Shalom and welcome to Secrets Revealed, the Holy Bible. Peace be unto you. It is the Sabbath, seventh day, and whether it's the seventh day for you or not, peace upon you. We're going to look at Numbers chapter 14 today. We have 45 verses in this chapter. In the first verse, we see a difference. Talking about the people that wept all that night. So this could mean one of two things. It can mean all as in the quantity, such as all the people. So all the people wept that night. Or it could mean all as in the duration of the time they cried. So they wept all night long. Okay. I guess it depends on where you put the punctuation. Would you put it at wept all, comma, that night, or wept, comma, all that night? Verse 2 to 3, we see an addition. It's a big difference. It says here, would God that we had died. And it mentions this twice in verse 2. Now then, it is better. In verse 3, it says here, now then, it is better, versus were it not better for us to return to Egypt. So we can see that not only in the Masoretic, they are wishing death upon themselves. We don't see it in the Septuagint. They're not wishing death upon themselves. In verse 3, they do. Turns out they do. It says, would we had died in the land of Egypt. So, you know what? I have to be honest and say, it says there, would we had died. So that's important. We have to keep ourselves honest. We can't pretend that doesn't exist. So I will admit it does say that. The only difference is that it doesn't say that would God we had died. It says would we had died. So they are wishing they would have died, but they're not saying that it's God's will that they would die. So it's an addition of would God we had died. Okay, I have to make that a very, I should almost restart the video. Yeah, I'm just kind of, it's all over the place now. Okay, you know what, I'm going to restart. It's a little bit messy. Too much, it's too messy for my liking. But you know what, we could probably keep going. As long as you don't mind, we made a mistake and I'm not afraid to admit that I made a mistake. So I corrected that. It does say that, just doesn't express it the same way. Okay, let's move on. Now then, it is better to return to Egypt. So that's their judgment. It is better for us. They're not asking a question. The Masoretic text is phrasing this as a question, when it really is not a question at all. They're making a statement. They're saying it is better for us to return to Egypt. They've come to that conclusion. In the Septuagint, they don't conclude that. They just say, wouldn't it not be better for us to return to Egypt? Verse 4, we see ruler. Let us make a ruler versus a captain. In either case, this clearly means, in the Septuagint at least, it is clear, they wanted to replace Moses. Because Moses was their de facto leader. He was the one leading them in the wilderness. So let us make a new ruler. That's the implication. And also, because Moses is the one appointed by Yah, they want to also replace Yah. That's very dangerous. Verse 7. So be careful what you wish for. Congregation is used here, the word congregation versus company. And we see the wording here, the land which we surveyed. This is talking to Joshua and Caleb giving their report. They rent their garments and they told them, the land which we surveyed is indeed extremely good. It's not just a little good, it's extremely good. 10 out of 10, perfect 10. The Masoretic says, the land which we passed through to search in it, an exceeding good land. So it's good. It's exceedingly good, but not extremely good. So it's not a 10 out of 10. It's probably more out of 7 out of 8. 7 or 8, rather, out of 10. Which is a pass, but it's not extremely good. It's not exceedingly extremely good. It's only exceeding good. So in my opinion, this is my opinion, that it's 7 or 8 out of 10. How good was it? It was exceeding good. Okay, how good was it? It was extremely good. You can't get better than it. This is the best of the best. You can't get no better. This is 10 out of 10, without a doubt. So that's what they're saying. That's how I render that verse from my when I'm reading between the lines there. Verse 8, if Yah choose us versus if Yah delight in us. That's an interesting difference. Is he delighting in them? Well, that's not the question. It's, did he choose us? If he chose us, he will bring us into this land and give it us. And to be honest, that's more of a rhetorical question. We know he chose them out of Egypt. That's why he freed them out of slavery. They're a chosen nation out of all the nations on the planet. He chose them out of Egypt to bring them out of slavery. So you would say to Joshua and Caleb, are you guys joking? Of course he chose us. Well, then if he did choose us, he will bring us into this land. So why are you so faithless? That's what they're saying. Verse 9, big difference here. Depart not from Yah. That's what they're saying. Just only depart not from Yah. Versus rebel not against Yah. So the Septuagint is saying, don't leave Yah, don't leave his ways. Versus don't be rebellious, which is more negative. It's important to notice, not only is Yah more positive, more hopeful, more understanding and reasonable and compassionate in the Septuagint, but Moses too. And not only Moses, but Joshua and Caleb, clearly in this verse, verse 9. Verse 10, we see an omission, appeared in the cloud on the tabernacle. So Yah appeared in the cloud in the tabernacle versus Yah appeared in the tabernacle. So he appeared, not just appeared, he appeared in the cloud. It's a very important detail that they miss there. Otherwise, if he just appeared, they would probably disintegrate. They wouldn't survive. But he had to appear in the cloud in that form, or in that, in that circumstance, and that kind of, in that situation, he had to appear in that way, in the cloud. Not just Yah unleashed, in his pure form, and they wouldn't exist. They would die immediately. They would die instantly. All right, verse 11. Let's look at this verse now. Big difference in verse 11. It says, they refuse to believe me. How long do they refuse to believe me? Versus how long before they believe me? So it's not that they're just not believing for reasons unknown. They are refusing to believe him. They are refusing. It's their choice they're making. So again, the Septuagint is revealing this is a choice they have made to not believe. And the Masoretic, one is vague. It could be open to interpretation to mean they're just ignorant. They don't know better because they just don't know. No, they don't know. They don't believe because they've chosen. They've made a choice out of free will to not believe. The signs are there. The evidence is there. They've seen everything. They've heard things. They've heard his voice. They choose not to believe that he could do this for them. Wrought, the word wrought, all the signs which I have wrought among them, which I worked, versus showed among them. Not a big difference. Moving on. Verse 12, we have a big difference here. I will smite them with what? With death and destroy them. I'm going to kill them. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to kill them. There's no there's no other way to interpret it. I'm going to kill them. Just kill them, take them out. Versus I'm going to smite them with the pestilence and disinherit them. So no, that's not what he's saying. He's not saying I'm going to let them alive. I'm going to keep them alive. No, I'm not going to just send them a sickness and they'll get sick and they will be disinherited. They're going to be killed. I'm going to take them out. They're going to be good as dead. They're going to be dead. That's a huge difference. I can see why they changed that part. I'm going to snuff them out, Moses. Remember I said I'll kill them? Well, I'm going to do it now. And we see here, omit. I know it does sound like he's, that Yah's lost his patience, but when you look at the context, this is a conversation not between Yah and the children of Israel. This is a private conversation between Yah and Moses. He's saying, how long does this people provoke me? How long do they refuse to believe me? He's not talking directly to them. It's not that he's saying one thing to Moses and another thing to the children of Israel. He's just telling Moses, this is what you need to know. They don't need to know this, but you need to know this to understand how urgent this is, that they need to repent, they need to obey, they need to believe. Otherwise, it's going to cost them their lives. And we see here an omission of your father's house. I'll make of you and of your father's house a great nation. So that's not there in the Masoretic. It just says, and we'll make of you a greater nation. Just you, not just him, but even his descendants, those of his father's house. Who's his father's house? Well, is he not of Levi? It would be Levi, wouldn't it? Okay, verse 14. So let me just, Moses or Levi. And be and or. But he's talking to Moses here. So he's saying your father's house, not your house. He's definitely saying Levi. That's verse 12. Your father is Levi. So looks to be Levi to me. So I'm going to just put delete Moses in the bracket and say Levi. Okay. Verse 14, we have an addition, and they, the Egyptians, will tell. And they, talking about the Egyptians, will tell to the inhabitants of this land that you are with them. So it's not saying the Egyptians will do this. It's all the dwellers of this land have heard that you are in the middle of this people. So that's what's happening. It's not the Egyptians, it's all the people that live on the land. Verse 15, heard your name. All the nations that have heard your name, the literal name, possibly the name of Yah, his identity, it could also mean his reputation, the things he has done, versus heard the fame of you. It's similar, however, when you say the name of a specific God means a lot of things. It's not just, we've heard the fame of fill in the blank. No, we've heard this name. People ask. Probably the most asked question, most frequently asked question on the internet is, what's the name of so-and-so, of this song, of the movie, of the TV show, of this individual, of the source? Name this person, identify it. That's one of the most common questions, because with a name is not only an identity, it is a reputation, it is actions, it is accomplishments, it is achievements, it is a set of beliefs, it is a way of life, it's a lot of things just in a name. So I don't think it's the fame. Actually, it's not that I think, it isn't. It's not the fame, it's the name. It says right there in black and white. So moving on, verse 17 says, Let your strength be exalted. Talking to Yah. Oh Yah, let your strength be exalted or glorified. Uh, so by the words and impression of all the people, let you be glorified. Let your strength be glorified by the words and impression of all the people. That's how it can be done. That's one way to do it. Versus, let the power of Yah be great. But it already is. It's not exalted yet, but is it great? It already is great. That doesn't need to be said. That's kind of it's already a given. It's obvious. It's like saying, "Let Yah be eternal." No, that's not. You don't make it so just by saying it. But for him to be exalted needs people to worship him, to give thanks to him, to give glory to his name, to render glory to him, to give the sacrifice of their lips, their actual physical sacrifices, to give their loyalty, their faith, their dedication, all their energy, all their time, all their blood. You know what I mean? Like when I say blood, I don't mean like human sacrifice. I'm talking about your blood, sweat, and tears, your efforts, he wants everything. He wants all of your love, all of your heart, all of your mind, all of your energy, all your strength, everything that is you. He wants it all. And it's not that you're getting nothing back. You're actually getting everything in return. The return is to you, but you have to give of yourself to me, and your reward will be eternal. It's going to be limitless. It'll be my power, my strength, which is limitless. Okay, so that's verse 17. That's an interesting reflection, to be honest, about that. Let your strength be exalted. Verse 18, we see an omission here. It says that Yah is true. So it doesn't say that he's true here in the Masoretic. That's pretty big. He's long-suffering, he's patient, he's merciful, and he's true. His word is truth, and he is the truth. He says that Jesus Christ is the way, the truth, and the life. So he is the truth. And it says that he's removing transgressions versus forgiving. He's not just forgiving them, he's removing them, erasing them. That's what he ultimately can and will do for us, to remove our sins, although they be scarlet, they be like blood, and in front of our eyes, they seem permanent and unforgivable, but for him, no, nothing is impossible. He will forgive your sin, he will remove your sin. Bigger than forgiving. It's one thing to forgive, to pardon somebody, it's another thing to remove it altogether as if it never took place. And that is so powerful and is such a hopeful promise. It's a hopeful thing that Yah can do for us, that we can continue and have a second chance at life. We see here another omission, the guilty. It says here, well, by no means clear the guilty. And we see a bracket clearing, and brackets the guilty. Well, how did they know it was the guilty? Maybe it was because the Septuagint existed 400 years before, 1,000 years before. That's how they knew. So it's kind of disingenuous that they would just put the guilty just out of nowhere, clearing. They could have just added clearing and visiting. No, it's the guilty. Verse 19, sin versus iniquity. Sin versus iniquity. And then favorable, you were favorable versus you have forgiven. Verse 20, I am gracious to them versus I have pardoned them. I have pardoned. Verse 21, we have a huge omission. It says here, verse 21, as I live, my name is living. That's pretty big. My name is living. The Septuagint also renders his name as the being, the ever living one. He lived, he's alive, and he will live. He's just ever living. He's eternal. He's the being. That's his name. I am is living. Why would they omit that? That's a huge omission. Then verse 23, another huge omission, says here, surely they shall not see the land which I swore to their fathers, but their children which are with me here. So why would they omit that? That is they're, I don't understand why they would omit that. As many as not good and evil, as many as know not good or evil, every inexperienced youth, to them will I give the land. So, man, those are two really big ones. Verse 21 and 23. Not only do they omit the name of God, the name of Yah, which is living, or it's either his name is living or his name, part of that name is that it is living. It is a living name. That's a characteristic of the name. But they also omit the fact that Yah isn't shutting them completely out. Only those who rebelled, only those who tempted him the 10th time and have not listened to his voice, who did not obey what he said. They will not see the land which I swore to their fathers, but these will, their children, which are with me here. And these are the characteristics of these children who did not know good or evil, every inexperienced youth. That's hopeful. I would have kept that in there. I don't know why they removed that. Why did they do that? It says, whoever removes, takes away from this word, will have their lot taken out of the book of life. Are they trying to remove the lot of their children from the book of life by removing them? I don't know what their motivation was, but it's massive. It's huge. Why would they do that? Why would they remove a blessing from their children? This evidence. This is evidence. This is a written testimony. It is an affidavit from the creator of the universe that your children will inherit it, but they decided to remove it. Those who wrote the Masoretic text, for whatever reason, very insidious reason, very shameful, disgraceful action to do this. Why would you remove the blessing to your children? They can do whatever they want. They can remove Yeshua from the scriptures. They can remove his name even. But the fact remains, these words remain today, and I can read them to you. And what a blessing that is. So thank you to Yah for that preservation, that he preserved his word in the form of the Septuagint. Verse 24, we see an addition. Caleb followed me fully. He followed him, yes, but he didn't follow him fully. I'm not trying to detract from Caleb. I'm only pointing out the truth that it doesn't say it fully. The one that did follow Yah fully, you know who that was? That was Yeshua, Jesus Christ. Verse 27, it says here, how long shall I endure this wicked congregation? I have heard their murmurings against me, the murmuring of the children of Israel, which they have murmured concerning you. Okay, so what we notice here is that they have murmured concerning you. So they murmured to who? Concerning Moses and against Yah. It's both. So it's redundant. It would be redundant. In the Masoretic, it's redundant because it's saying that Moses, they murmured against me and they murmured against me. No, Moses, they murmured against me and they murmured against you. Well, how? Remember what they want to do? Replace you as ruler. They wouldn't replace you if they had no complaints against you, but they did. What a shame. What a shame, Moses, what they did to you. Verse 30, the first half of the verse is different. You shall not enter into the land for which I stretched out my hand to establish you upon it. Verses, doubtless you shall not come into the land which I swore to make you dwell therein. So he's saying, for sure, you will not come into the land, which I swore to make you dwell. No, he's just saying, no, you will not enter into the land for which I stretched out my hand. So he stretched out his hand, meaning he took action to make the circumstances such that they will be established on it. He didn't swear it to them. Maybe on this verse, he didn't swear it to them. So that's important to notice. This verse just doesn't say it. It doesn't say it that way. Verse 31, the promised land, which you, what do? They rejected it. You rejected the promised land. You believed the false report of the 10 other spies. And by doing so, rejected the true report of Caleb, of Joshua. Verses you despised. How can you hate a land that I haven't seen? They didn't hate it, they just rejected it. They rejected the land because they didn't even give it a chance. They said, we can't do this. We can't do this. We don't believe you. Yeah, we don't believe this, that you can do this for us. Verse 33, they just refused to believe. Verse 33, shall be fed in the wilderness 40 years. This is Yah talking to, referring to their children. They shall be fed in the wilderness 40 years. Versus your children shall wander in the wilderness 40 years. Not that they didn't do that, but just doesn't say that in this verse. He's expressing a different thought. He's expressing a completely different sentiment that I will provide for your sons and your daughters in the wilderness. I'm going to feed them for 40 years. Okay? You're not just going to wander. We're going to provide for them. Something important. Verse 34, a massive, as if you didn't think the differences were big enough yet, we see a massive cataclysmic difference. According to the number of the days during which you spied the land, 40 days, a day for a year, you shall bear your sins 40 years. And you shall know my fierce anger. What does the Masoretic say? You shall know my breach of promise. No. Scripturally, ethically, characteristically, this is not correct. Because Yah he never breaks his promises. He always holds up his end of the bargain. But if the other party does not, that's the only condition on which he will not bless you. He'll only reward those who obey. He will be faithful to us always, but if the other party is unfaithful, well, how can you in good faith give them something for disobedience? You cannot. That's not how life works. If you don't hold up your end of the bargain, the deal's off. But that's not what it's talking about here. It's talking about you shall know my fierce anger. We know that Yah doesn't break his promises, so that's foolish. It's such a vast difference that even in the King James, the 1611 version of the King James Bible, for this verse, it doesn't say that. I mean, it does say this, breach of my breach of promise. There's a footnote in my Bible that says, altering of my purpose. You shall know the altering of my purpose. That's how big of a difference it is. It's saying that we know God doesn't break his promises. So let's put a footnote here, just in case, to mean something else. Altering, you shall know the altering of my purpose. So I'll change my purpose towards you. Interesting? Well, it doesn't say that either, but at least it's a little better than breaching my promise, because he doesn't breach his promises, ladies and gentlemen. He does not do that. It's not the Elohim we serve. It's not God. It's not the true God, at least. It says here, verse 35, I, Yah, have spoken. Surely will I do this to the evil congregation. So he's saying that I have spoken. Period. Done. Drop the mic. Versus Masoretic saying, I, Yah, have said, I will surely do it. No. Yah in the Septuagint is really the boss. He is the God, he is the Elohim, he's the true king of the universe. And he said, I, Yah, have spoken. I've spoken it, it is done. End of story. Okay. Next we see here in the same verse, this evil congregation that has risen up together against me, versus the Masoretic saying, this evil congregation that are gathered together against me. Okay, so they've gathered together. No, but we're just gathering together. We're just a friendly gathering. No, this is not a family gathering, a kumbaya, gathering together against God like it's nothing. No, they've risen up together. You heard of revolutions. This is a mutiny. This is treason. They are betraying God. And they have conspired by rising up together against him. What's another big example of this? Is it not the enemy and the angels that sided with him? They rose up together against God, against Yah. We see an omission now. They shall be utterly consumed. So they're not just going to be consumed, they're going to be utterly consumed, completely eradicated. Verse 36, we see the second half is different. So let's look at this. Let's look at the Septuagint first. So talking about the men who spied in the land, who came and murmured against it to the assembly, so as to bring out evil words concerning the land. So the 10, they murmured against the land to the assembly, so as to bring out evil words concerning the land. Let's look at the Masoretic. The men which Moses sent to search the land, not spy, who returned and made all the congregation to murmur against him by bringing up a slander on the land. So we can see not only is it saying that they made the congregation murmur. You can't make anyone do anything. No, they murmured against it to the assembly so as to bring out evil words. So they brought out their evil words, and possibly the assembly brought out their own evil words as a result. They brought up a slander upon the land. They brought out evil words. Evil words are slander, it's true. But I think it's much more specific that these are evil words, not just a slander. It's not just bringing up a slander. These are explicitly evil words concerning the land. Slander, I think, is more used towards an individual, a person. You slander someone, you bear false witness against an individual, a particular person. So that's not what it's saying here. All right. Verse 40, moving on to verse 40. It says here, the people had a change of heart. So let's read the verse. They rose up early in the morning, let's rewind. And they rose early in the morning, talking about the people, and went up to the top of the mountain, saying, behold, we that are here will go up to the place of which Yah has spoken, because we have sinned, talking about the promised land. So we can see they had a change of heart. Let's look in the Masoretic. They rose up early in the morning and got them up to the top of the mountain, saying, look, we be here. We will go up to the place which Yah has promised, for we have sinned. So it says pretty much the same thing. Okay, why was this wrong for them to say and do this? Well, because it was not according to what Yah had specifically commanded. Yah is a God of specifics, an Elohim of specifics. Verse 30 to 35 says explicitly to the children of Israel, you shall not enter into the land. In the Septuagint, the Masoretic, it's kind of, well, you know, I'm pretty sure you won't get there. But no, he's saying you will not enter. Don't go there. Do not enter that land. What are you going to do? You will wander for 40 years. It says here, according to the number of the days, you shall bear your sins for 40 years, and you shall know my fierce anger. That's what's going to happen. And you will be utterly consumed. You will die. I've spoken this. It's done. So that's what's going to happen. And they, although it seems they had a change of heart, they rebelled. They're rebelling against what has been decreed against them. This judgment that has been rendered, they're going against it, trying to overturn it and say, no, these words will not come true. We'll be good, we'll be good. No, it's too late. There's another way to do it, but that's not how you do it. You don't just do it based on your whims, on your impulses. And they are described as an impulsive people. Moses said this previously in one of the previous chapters. You know how they are an impulsive people, not stiff-necked, impulsive. Okay, verse 41. You shall not prosper. Moses said to them, why do you transgress the word of Yah? Verses, it shall not prosper. What, it? Who's it? It's not just the commandments, the word of Yah. It's the words that he spoke to them earlier. It shall not prosper, so the people and their lives will not prosper in the Septuagint verses. Possibly their actions, possibly their mission or objective. No, you will not. You will not prosper. So verse 42, don't go up. Moses is reiterating the commandment of Yah, do not enter. Yah is not with you versus Yah is not among you. You know what? He is among them, but he will not be with them if they do this. So shall you fall before the face of your enemies. Versus is not among you, that you be not smitten before your enemies. So he's saying to them, do not go up. You will die before your enemies if you do that. But in the Masoretic, it's saying don't go up, so you will not be smitten. Well, smitten can mean, just injured, but fall is really, you're going to fail. You're going to be destroyed. You're going to fail. You're going to fall. No one's going to be left. Maybe that is an implication. I'm kind of inserting my own interpretation there, but basically saying don't go up. God is not among you. No, he's not saying that either. He's saying God is not with you. Yah is not with you if you do this. He will not be going with you if you go up. It's not that Yah is not with them. He is among them. But you have to obey. And by going up, you will not obey. He will not be with you. That will be the consequence of that action. And then you will fall before your enemies. So Moses is telling them this is what's going to happen. If you do this, you shall fall before the face of your enemies. And the Masoretic is saying, Yah is not among you, and be not smitten. He's telling them, do not be killed by your enemies if you go up. So you can see the tone is different. Verse 43, an omission here. You have disobeyed Yah and turned aside. Verses, you are turned away from Yah. Yah will not be with you or among you. It says Yah will not be with you. Similar to what the Septuagint said in the previous verse. So perhaps verse 42, there's similar meanings after all. Okay. Verse 44, we see a big double difference. So let's look at this. It says here in the Septuagint, the people forced their passage. They went up to the top of the mountain. That, wow. It's like I'm reading this for the first time. So they forced their passage. They just said, no, we're going. You know, whatever, Moses, we're going. Whatever, yeah, we're going. We heard you, but we're not going to do what you said. We're just going to force our way through. We're going to show you that we can do this. So they forced their passage and they went up to the top of the mountain. I don't like where this is going, but let's see. In the Masoretic, it says they presumed to go up to the hilltop. Okay, so it's one thing to presume, to make a presumption, just say, okay, we're just going to go. No, forcing your passage is more rebellious. So rebellious intimation there, connotation. Verse 45, it says here, and Amalek, and the Canaanites, so destroyed them. Just like Yah said, they'll be destroyed. Destroyed them to Hermon versus discomfited them. The word discomfited means to perplex, to defeat. They were not just perplexed. There's a distinction between destroy and utterly destroy. One can mean to be destroyed partially. The latter means they killed all. They did not spare not even one man. They didn't take any prisoners. And then, so we see here that, yeah, they were destroyed. Not utterly destroyed, not utterly, but destroyed. Versus perplexed. Okay, you perplexed us. Oh, we're so perplexed in our minds and we've been defeated, but we still have a lot of survivors left. No, they were destroyed. Probably decimated. Not too many returned. So it sounds like they had some survivors, but they were mostly destroyed. And then it says they returned to the camp. So how can they return to the camp if they were utterly destroyed? That means they were only partially destroyed. This confirms what I was saying, that they had survivors. They did, but we don't know how many were destroyed. Probably a lot. And it doesn't say they returned to the camp in this Masoretic, so it's a lot more negative in terms of their survivors. So that's all I have for you for this chapter of Numbers. Thank you very much for your time. May our Father Yah bless you and make your way prosperous. Tune in for the next episode. We're going to look at Numbers chapter 15. Please give this video a like and hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. It means a lot to me, all your support. And you know, this is the most valuable thing on our planet, is the word of Yah. So if you're here and you're listening, I have no doubt, you know, Yah brought you to hear from the truth of his words. And he's given me this commission to present this at this time. And if I don't do it, someone else will do it. So just thank you very much. Yah bless you. Shabbat Shalom. If it's Shabbat for you, it is for me right now. But peace be unto you. Shalom to you and your household. Till next time. You've been watching Secrets Revealed, the Holy Bible.